For your Caesar. Cardiff City, ride with me for your Caesar. For your Caesar. Cardiff City, get litty for your Caesar. She want a diff boy. Swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. She want a diff boy. Swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. For your Caesar. Grab a little something for your Caesar. We the geezers. Swagger stone cold like freezers. She want a diff boy. She want Starvz, not Fitzroy. She want a diff boy. She want Starvz, not Fitzroy. She want a big man. Says she want a man.
Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Terrace Take. It's Thursday night live, and we're going to talk about some interesting things. We're going to talk about the social media negativity that is Cardiff City, and whether it's warranted, whether it's not, whether it's an overreaction, whether there's a bit in between. There's always context, I guess. But we're going to deep dive and discuss it all and mix in some comments from you guys at the same time. I am, as always, joined on a Thursday evening by Evan James. How are you, mate? You good?
Evening. Yeah, doing good, man.
Good stuff. Just about to choke, excuse me. Yeah, so there we go. Nice bit of dead air. So what we need is... well, let me get your opinion first of all, Ev, right? What do you generally make of the first 3 games of the season?
I'm happy with. I can see the long-term project, which is a nice thing for a change. Because before you'd get a new manager in and you'd instantly get some results and then you'd fade off. And that's kind of what we did with Bullets. It seemed like the longer we had and the worse it got. Whereas I'm not saying it's the opposite exactly with Brian Murphy, but you can see there's at least a long-term plan there, and you can see he's trying to get them to play it. I'm not so worried at the moment, but I think the Port Vale game was definitely a slap back to reality, and it shows that we really lack some senior leadership or just senior players in general. I think, what we basically did out of our whole squad. So, like, we have had to learn how to play football again in a way. But I am still optimistic. I just think that I could see us being in League One for an extra season if it means, maybe next season, we end up going up. And again, it's so early to say. But
the thing is, people, like the general social media consensus is like, we have to go up this year. We have to go up this year. It's promotion or bust. But like for me, first of all, I think the Port Vale game showed that we lack certain things. And some of those things are open secrets or open problems from last year. But I also thought that versus Swindon in the second half, they tried to bully us physically and they weren't able to do it like Port Vale did it. Now, they did press, and we caused a lot of our own problems against Swindon. But I thought that we stood up to the physical side of it quite well in the second half, which shows that over the 2 games, they learned a little bit and they learned how to deal with it a little bit better, at least for me. And the other thing that I see, and I've seen in every single game, which I haven't seen under Omar Risa, I haven't seen under Errol Bullitt, didn't see under Aaron Ramsey, was I see clear patterns of play and how he's trying to get the side to play football in possession and out of possession. The team is very, very clearly well coached and well drilled, but you also can't ignore the fact that there's certain issues that were there last year and are still there now. Now, you can't just put all, and as I said at the end of the season, I don't put the blame of last season on the young players. And I kind of felt that the issue was with the senior players. And now I feel even more like that because I feel like a lot of the positives are coming from some of the younger players like Joel Colwell. I think Ruben Colwell stepped up. Dylan Lawler, I think, has maybe had a bit of a wake-up call physically, but I think he's done all right. I think Will Fish has been really good physically and he's popped some nice diagonals, but there's still things he's got to work on. I think Joel Bagan was excellent against Swindon, for instance. But I think Callum Robinson struggles in this way of playing, and I'm not sure where he's going to fit in long term. Ryan Wintle, I'm still a bit on the fence with. I thought he was excellent in the first game against Peterborough. I thought he was poor against Port Vale, but majority of players were. I thought he was better against Swindon than he was against Port Vale, but I would prefer to see an athletic, mobile, physical number 6 in there. I think Callum Chambers is an issue at centre-back. I don't think you can skirt around that. Like there is a big issue there. Now, he might improve as the season goes because he was the best. Him and Lawler was the better centre-back pairing in pre-season, but it's pre-season. So I think there's a lot of different things going on. Still think we need a winger. And it's like, was Brian Barry Murphy sold that he was going to be backed? Or did he always think he was going in with the squad he's got and he was going to add in a few loans towards the end of the window using his contacts? Like, only he could answer that. And I guess let's get onto the transfer side of it in a minute. What do you make of what I just said in regards to the kind of issues which have carried on from last year and some of the performances of said players?
Yeah, it's clear to see. I think it's more obvious now. I think we really had to have a massive clear out. We had so many players leave on like freeze or just on cheaps or whatever. But if I'm being honest, you kind of need a mass exit after last season. You can't go into, League One. You can't get relegated and keep basically the same squad. I mean, Luton have more or less gone that route in terms of they've kept a lot of their players and they believed in get straight back up. But with our case, we couldn't afford to do that because we had so many different big personalities who basically probably thought they were way too big for the club. And it proved that half of them would fit and the other half of them hadn't played football in God knows how long, and some were both. So I think really it was a big sort of good thing that we had to clear out, mainly the changing room sort of attitude as well. And I got to say, I do have some sympathy and empathy for Omar Riza and Arrow Bullet because there's only so much you can do when you have so many different people in the dressing room like you did. I'm not saying they're all troublemakers, but I just think that it sticks with players then and it affects the younger ones as well. And when all of a sudden you've got rid of most of your senior players, and yes, it's a very young squad, but you give the youngsters a chance to step up and be more mature about it. And to be fair to them, you can't really blame them so far much. You can point out individual youngsters and say, oh, he's not had as big of an impact as we thought. But it's been like 3 games and we forget players under the age of 21, they go in to give you a mixed bag most games. Very rarely are you going to get every single youngster, tip-top form, 90 minutes every single game. Is not going to happen with senior players. So I think it's a good thing that we had a big clear out. But the only problem is that we're still left with a few senior players who I really thought they were my number ones to get rid of, really. But my thoughts is that I don't think many people would come in for them after that. So, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, so I don't know if you've seen the members show from this Monday. Omar Risa joined us right after the 2-part podcast dropped. And one of the questions that was put to him was Callum Chambers being moved into midfield as a holding midfielder. And he kind of alluded to the fact that Callum struggled a bit at centre-back. And when he went into midfield, he was extra protection for the defence, but he was also had the ball playing ability to do it as well. There's been no indication from Brian Barry Murphy that he sees Callum Chambers as a number 6. Like, he hasn't played him there once. He has been centre-back every single time. Are you surprised that we're letting Darland go, or seemingly letting him go?
No, really. Honestly, I would have given him a game in the cup thing, but I got a feeling that it was kind of rumoured from a few days or even a week before we even found out about it. He was probably, when you're linked to another club, playing someone there in a cup game or any game really can become a bit dangerous if there's links, because you understand they're probably not going to put their best performance on if they know they could be going. I mean, why would you? You know what I mean? If you think you're going to be going, it's naturally going to be ingrained in them. It's the same way as if like Joel Baker now hasn't got any competition yet. Yeah, he played amazing and has been really good for us last couple of seasons. And I think he could be a future captain, honestly. I would have put him as captain instead of Chambers because he at the moment he plays every game. He might get subbed off Matthew go whatever, but with Darland, I'm a bit sad to think, if he does go, because I felt like the Swansea game, his first game, he was chucked straight in the squad. He must have been half decent, and he was. But maybe it's a style of play, I don't know. But I would take Darland any day over Chambers. Again, nothing personal, but I just don't see him causing a blunder every 45 minutes. So
do you think that because the players voted for the captain, that there's a possibility that BBM won't feel so strongly about, he's my captain, so he's got to play, because the players voted for him? So maybe that's his get out for not playing him, if you get me. But go on, carry on, mate.
I mean, I rambled on the last point, but yeah, I think it is the case. I think that can be sort of said. It's a smart move if that's the case, isn't it? But I think it's also because, he said he studied the players a lot before joining us. But at the same time, he doesn't know what they're like in the dressing room. He doesn't know who gets on or whatever. So the last thing you want to do is, let's just say, like John Doe or whatever gets voted. He picks John Doe as captain. So he looks like a good player. But then what he doesn't realize is that half the dressing room actually hate him because he's like stuck up whatever. So it's a safe bet to go there. I don't think it's just with the intention of like, I can just switch it up now because I didn't appoint him. But I think it is an important thing to consider because honestly, I can see why they gave him captain. I would have actually preferred Wintle as captain as much as I wasn't really keen on him. I just could see Wintle having a lot more game time than Chambers. But knowing that Chambers on the wages he's on, we're backed ourselves into the corner now. We have to play him now. And if what happens then, I don't fancy him. I have 3 centre-back choices before him. And I think he's all right in midfield. This is the thing. I think as a number 6, he can do a decent job because he's not going to have to worry as much about sprinting back. If he gets beaten, he's at least got 2 big centre-backs in front of him. But I can't for life of me see why he's still being played as a centre-back when he's clearly the biggest.
I didn't think there was a need to change the back 4 from Peterborough, other than I could understand if maybe Darland had come in for Lawler because they were expecting a bit of a bigger physical challenge, and Lawler was a mixed bag. Like, I thought on the ball he was excellent against Peterborough, but I could understand why some people thought he was ropey physically. I didn't agree that a load of people were saying he was terrible. I just thought that was wild. But what I will say, just on Joel Bagan. So Joel Bagan, for me, right, is a consistent 6.5, 7 out of 10, week in, week out. But what I think he does do is, I think he understands what Brian Barry Murphy wants from him specifically. So I think mistakenly, some people think that the manager will want basically a version of Capacchio on the left, but that's not necessarily the case, depending on who's playing in midfield, etc. Because what Joel Bagan does very well is he kind of inverts into the midfield. And what he did against Swindon was he got forward a lot and he overlapped more than we've seen him do. But it was very timed to when Isaac was sort of cutting inside. So when you had Isaac on the left, Bagan got a lot further forward. When in the first game, who played in the left first game? Ashford. You had Bagan inverting, Ruben dropping into the pockets, and then Ashford all trying to congregate in that similar sort of area. So you never had that line breaking run. So the difference is on the other side, you have Capacchio, who's going to bomb forward. He's going to, he gets involved in the build-up. He's very quick. He's looking to carry the ball as well. And you've either got Joel Colwell or on Wednesday, it was David Turnbull. And what was fascinating to watch on about 5-10 minutes into the game on Saturday, BBM was on Turnbull to make line-breaking runs and really squeeze up not coast through the first sort of 15 minutes. He didn't want him sitting back. He wanted him pressing. He wanted him running and being attacking. And I thought actually after that, Turnbull was pretty good. But it's very clear that that right-hand side is quite aggressive and cohesive, and there's a lot of movement off the ball and a lot of runners. On the other side, I'm not sure if he does necessarily want a mirror image, because he very much seemed to like what Joel Bagan was doing. Because I sit like right by the bench, so I can't help myself but watch. When you've got Ian Holloway in like 2 yards in front of you, and BBM sort of to the side, you can't help but watch them as well. And like, so watching BBM and what he's telling the team to do, what he's telling individuals to do, like I thought Joel Bagan was really, really good on Tuesday. You know, of course, a couple of passes went awry and stuff like that, but you're always going to get that because you think a player is going to make a run or he's going to be somewhere. That's going to happen. Doesn't mean that you've had a terrible game. There was a couple of people behind me who were sort of saying how Capacchio had a stinker on Wednesday, and I was like, you know, he gave the ball away a couple of times, but going forward, I thought he was great. And when we have a corner, we're leaving Capacchio at the back on his own against that massive number 10 from Swindon, and then the ball sort of bounced up. Capacchio obviously loses that because he's up against a guy twice his size, but the guy couldn't get away from him because his recovery pace is so quick. He delayed him, and then his teammates get back. So I think, yes, we need another left back, but I don't buy into the fact that we need another left back because Joel Bagan's not good enough. I think Joel Bagan is doing the job that's asked of him. And remember, when Joel Bagan came into the side as a youngster, he was like Capacchio. He was overlapping and getting forward. So maybe he's just a bit more tactically mature now at 23. He's been on loan, etc. But yeah, that's my explanation, or I guess, of Joel Bagan. I don't know what you make of all that, mate. A lot to unpack.
Yeah, I'll say quickly though, it takes us back to Warnock when he took us up the season to the Premier League and the season in the Premier League. Remember Joe Bennett, right? And it seems to be a pattern with these Joels and everything. Joe Bennett and Lee Peltier, right? I never saw Lee Peltier cross the halfway line, because if he did, Warnock would literally probably kill him, right? Because I remember him telling, right, I had a season ticket, and I was watching Warnock going absolutely furious, right, when we had the ball in possession. He was out in the wing, and Lee Peltier wanted to sort of go and attack, because that was kind of like when attacking fullbacks was coming in from, like, you know, Liverpool and Man City doing it. And like, I remember Warnock screaming at Peltier, no, stay back. So you had the two centre backs and the right back, whilst Joe Bennett, who was naturally more attacking, could go forward and could overlap, and he was a decent crosser. And it was that kind of thing, is like, you didn't necessarily have to always have attacking fullbacks. I quite like having a defensive fullback, because then you technically got three at the back then, right? Because at any point, the defensive fullback could invert, like you said, and become a defensive midfielder, or, you know, he just could be that passing option around there to get him involved more. But you're wasted if you're just playing a defensive centre back and you just stay in your position, because that's how I think Capacchio did that once. And I think it was against, I think it might be in the Peterborough goal. It might be, I can't remember now. But basically, he was caught being too wide, and they just played the ball the other side of him. And, you know, that will obviously come and with learning defensive maturity. But I think it's really interesting that BBM's not just, you know, forcing everyone to play attacking wing backs and everything, because it's so overdone. And so many League One teams now, they do five at the back anyway. So it's like, we're only going to match and mirror them. But no, I really like it.
You make a really interesting point there. But yeah, I agree. Just on Joel, just to finish off on Joel Bagan, I do think we need a Capacchio profile left back to go with him, so you have like two options. But I think Bagan is one of the players who really understands tactically what the manager's looking for. And, you know, there's others who I think maybe haven't got the skill set to do what he tactically wants at the moment. And maybe Turnbull is one of those, but we'll discuss that in a bit more detail. You mentioned about teams play. A lot of the League One sides play 3-5 at the back. So obviously I did my preview. I recorded my preview for Rotherham on the weekend. They play 3 at the back. Port Vale played 3-5 at the back, right? And what that's going to cause a problem for us is when we play teams who've got 4 along the back, because our wingers literally stand on the touchlines, we shuffle the opponents around, shuffle them around, and then Fish or Wintle or Ruben will switch the ball out to the wingers, and they've got the fullback isolated with loads of room. Against Port Vale, we weren't able to do that as much, partially because of the physicality, but also because they've got 5 across the back. So the wingers don't have enough space. And I think one of the things we do need to improve on is the central build-up, like actually in the midfield, because our 2-8s at home, I think you can get away with it. But we like Ruben and Turnbull, say, or Ruben and Joel, they play so high that you almost haven't got a build-up in the middle of the pitch. So what they tried to do at Swindon was Ruben and Turnbull would be quite high, and then Robinson drops in between them to receive the ball to feet. He's supposed to then pop it off to the fullback or whoever, and one of the midfielders or the wingers is supposed to run into the space, ideally, if it all works like on the training ground, which of course it doesn't always. But for that to work, the centre forward who's dropping deep has got to be able to either pop it off in one touch or kill it and pop it off in 2 touches really effectively and really quickly. And I'm not sure that Callum Robinson, that's not his best attribute. Like, I think he's better on the back of the defender, running in behind. And I don't know, like, I think it's something that we need to improve on is those patterns in the middle, because 1, teams will work us out, and 2, as you rightly say, a lot of teams in League One play in a 3 and a 5, so at the back. So we have to find another way other than just switching to the wingers to create chances. Talk to me a bit about that, and then I want to talk about the set piece delivery and the crossing from the Swindon game. But go on.
Yeah, so I remember a couple of seasons ago, I always think back to sort of like the season we got promoted, and I looked at a lot of the other teams as well. I looked at like the likes of Fulham and just look at how like fluid their football was, how fast paced it was. And it was when Fulham played that promotion season, the last time they got promoted, it was like it was so fast, but it was so many passing, like trying to split oppositions. They would try going out wide and they would try going right to the middle. And again, Watford, when they got promoted or when they narrowly missed out, they all their football was through the middle. They played like a 4-3-2-1, very, very narrow formation, because at the time everyone was using the overlapping fullbacks. And it was just like there was just so much space in the middle when they got the ball to counter. And I wish we played a bit more centrally at times. Obviously, I know we played with loads of inverted wingers or inside forwards or whatever, but that's a bit different. All I'm saying is like we had like Dylan Lawler playing passes through the middle instead of centre back to right back to right wing, and that can work, but we can't rely on one way of playing, because again, playing 5 at the back can easily solve out a lot of the problems. I mean, like you remember Mick McCarthy, he played 5 centre backs, right? We might have drawn loads of games, didn't win much, but we also probably didn't lose. Well, I think we did lose a bit in the end. But for a period of time, right, you could just sort of kill off teams and all their tactics by being very defensive. I think even when we played Oxford and we lost against them, they literally played a 5-4-1. They just took all this thing out of the game so that anything we had planned to work to press them fast, it just wouldn't work, because they would just out defend us. And when we got tired, we would just look around, run out of ideas. What do we do now? And then we would concede. And this is what we don't want to be vulnerable for this season, is that because a lot of fans got the mindset of we're going straight back up, we might sometimes press because we're just impatient. And I feel like a lot of teams will counter-attack us with, when they do have 3-5 at the back. So we've got to be flexible and have a plan B at times.
Yeah, I mean, Rotherham, for example, they've got Dan Gore and Powell in the middle of their midfield, both really good technical footballers. Not the biggest, but what they have got is they've got Sam Nome up front, who he will be looking on Saturday to get in the space that K Pacquiao leaves. And that's where you need like Dylan Lawler, who's got that extra bit of pace to go with him, because Chambers won't be able to get to him. And we have to find the right balance. Like for me, we needed a centre back anyway. And now I think if Darling goes, I really do think we need 2, or unless the plan is to put Perry NG at right centre back, that I suppose is an option, or Joel Bagan at left centre back. Is Sam Nome injured? That would be a big plus. I wish I'd known that before my preview. There we go. So one of the reasons, right, I was so keen on Darko Gyabi potentially being a signing that Cardiff got in is because he is a absolute monster. Yes, it's another young player, but he is a monster. And what he will do is he'll win duels. He'll be physical. He's athletic. He's a good ball carrier. But what he'll do is he'll receive the ball off the centre backs, turn, and then he'll play. And you've got the players to play. And we've got the players to play now. Whereas I feel like sometimes Wintle is still got that backwards, sideways mentality, which I understand that a lot of these players will have, but it's a funny one, because I think one really good midfield signing could transform us defensively, which sounds weird because you're not bringing in I don't think Ryan Wintle offers enough protection off the ball. I don't think he's mobile enough to get across and cover certain spaces when we play with two really aggressive number 8s. If we played, say David Turnbull had played alongside Wintle in the 2, then maybe that allows that. But when you've got Wintle and then the other 2 midfielders are really pushing high, I don't know if he's got the mobility to get across and cover the spaces. So you need someone who's physical, is quick over the first couple of yards, but is also good on the half turn, receiving the ball. And yeah, there's 2 weeks to go in the transfer window. There's a lot of time to go. Up next, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the set pieces and crossing. But before that, a word from our sponsors. This episode of Cardiff City World is brought to you by Coral, the proud sponsor of the TalkSport Fan Network, here for all kinds of fans. For the armchair experts, whether you're constantly negative, overly positive, or maybe even the instant over-the-top reaction social media guy or girl. For the football fashionistas still clinging to the legendary Terrace fashion of yesteryear, or the best retro gear from Michael Thorne, the nostalgia merchants, dreaming of the old lady Ninian Park, or still celebrating Campbell's goal in the Millennium Stadium. Whatever kind of fan you are, with Coral's free-to-play reward shaker with a guaranteed daily reward or offer throughout the season, simply shake your phone to win. Over 18s only, maximum 1 reward or offer per player per day, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Reward restrictions and requirements and other T's and C's apply. For more information on safer gambling, visit gambleaware.org. What a handsome devil he is. Who's that? Wow. So yeah, big thanks to them as always. Always good to get sponsors. So just before we get on to that, one of the benefits of being a member of Cardiff City World or a Patreon Ace Podcast Nation is that you get early access to tickets from live events. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I shall be announcing the next live event. And it is a proper Cardiff City legend. And it is going to sell out real quick. So the members are going to get the benefits of that. There's only going to be 100 odd tickets. And it's an interesting one because he is a guy who is loved universally. He's a guy who I got a hell of a lot of time for. He's very handsome, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's going to be announced tomorrow night. They'll go on sale to members over the weekend. I should also tell you that live event is on the 19th of September and is only 4 weeks away. So if you're not a member, be a member, because that benefit. Because look, let me put it in layman's terms. The venue that we're at can hold a maximum really of not many more than 125, probably 150 a stretch, which is what we did for the Bellamy one. But generally, we do between 100 and 125 tickets. It'll be 100 at first. And technically, if at the moment, if every member bought a ticket, those 100 tickets would be sold out before they go on general sale. So you could see why it's a benefit to be a member just for that. It's the price of a coffee. And ultimately, it supports what we do, allows us to do 7 days a week content. And yes, indeed, Cardiff City World by fans, for fans. Yeah, let's go. So, the set pieces. So one of the things that got really, really criticised against Port Vale was when we did manage to work some wide positions, our crossing was diabolical. Willock and Tanner, it was absolutely horrendous. Last year, we went from the season before being set piece specialists to last year. I don't think we scored one goal from a set piece. I might be wrong on that, but it certainly wasn't many. Obviously, Ruben's banged in 2 free kicks already. Great. Why hasn't he been on free kicks for like the last year or so, whatever? But the set piece delivery from corners on Wednesday night was exceptional. There was one corner in the second half I remember going a bit deep. Apart from that, everyone was on the button, whipped in with pace, and it was a real threat. The crossing, when we did get into wide areas, the pullbacks were a lot better. Clearly, something has been worked on along with the patterns of play and stuff like that. I just think that set piece delivery is going to be vital. And we've got players who are good enough to do it. So I never really understood why we weren't able to put in good balls to the box. But time and time again last year, no matter who took the corners, they were dreadful. But were you heartened by our improved delivery?
I won't lie, I only saw the highlights, but from what I heard and what I have seen, I know, mate. I couldn't get the stream up. I tried everywhere. I messed on the members chat and I was trying my best. But no, from what I have seen as well, it's night and day difference already. Just I don't know, it just seems like we care more about taking a good corner now. Before we'd either, a couple of times take it short. It would always get either overhit or it wouldn't even reach the first man. It would bounce before it even reached the first man. And I never understood, right? And this is me being my harshest, professional footballers not being able to cross the ball in an area, not to a specific millimeter, but just to the right area. And if we ever did get it to the right length, it would be too close to the keeper. So it just never worked. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the session after that game was just purely focused on crosses. If I was manager or coach, right, and we were absolutely dreadful at final balls, the whole of the next session would literally just be crossing and finishing, nothing else. Because I would drill into our players and at least I'd let them know that is not acceptable. But in comparison now, I just there's nothing worse, right, than seeing someone cross the ball when you have a good chance and they just massively overhit it. Because it's all that build up, everything you've worked up for, right? You've switched the play, you've moved the defense around everything, and then you deliver that rubbish. And I'm it's nothing more frustrating. So it is so refreshing to see that. I just hope that wasn't just getting us back for the back. Possibly don't know, but it does continue now, because I tell you what, if we keep putting crosses in like we were doing more against Swindon, you'd expect Salic to get on some of the chances. At the moment, he hasn't had any service. And to be fair,
on that, mate, if I was Yusuf Salic and I was sat on the bench watching that, I'd have been like,
I'd be annoyed.
Are you kidding me? Because there was so many of these. Even there was a couple of times where Pacquiao and Ashford worked little 1-2s and triangles with Turnbull, and Turnbull put a couple of nice little crosses in from an angle, and I was right behind them, and they were into just a perfect area. And you're like, if Salic is there, he's up and attacking that. And it's just, he must have been sitting there just
oh yeah,
what is going on? And he looked frustrated when he came on, he put himself about a bit. But I don't mind that. Bit of anger, bit of frustration sometimes can be a good motivator.
I worry about him though.
Once he gets one, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, it could be the case of once he gets his first goal, it'll start flooding in. And I feel like when he scored his first goal for us, I think it was his debut as well. Was it Coventry, Millwall, one of those? Yeah, Millwall, yeah.
Late equaliser,
exactly. And I feel like as soon as he got that goal, you can kind of see a bit of like relief. I think of the fans as well, just sort of seeing that relief of just like, oh, thank God he scored in his first day or first game. I mean, the amount of strikers we've had on loan, Christ, like, don't get me started. And like the fact that he's already paid us off, I'm being honest, but I think it's having that ultra high expectation because he's still young, he's 22, 23, and like he's come from a completely different league. Like the Swedish league is like it's such like a random thing, right? Like to get dragged in from there, but it's like he just fits that style. If we focus on the crosses and keep doing, because I know Tanner in the first game he whipped one with his right foot, and I thought was really good. Connected with Salic, and unfortunately the keeper saved it. But like it shows that he is, if you put it in the right place, he will score it or get on target. I just worry that like I don't know how much patience he's got, because I know he's got a really good, driven attitude and good mindset. But even players like that, eventually they're going to get tired if they don't get the service or if they're on the bench. And
I also think he's been frustrated by the lack of protection he's got from referees in League One. Like you could see straight away in the first 2 games in League One, he's been absolutely battered, and the referees punish him more than they punish the centre backs.
It's like Kiefer Moore, a guaranteed yellow card every game just because he's 6'4", 6'5", whatever. He's guaranteed because of the. I just don't get it. Like I mean, we can say all we want about referees, and again, the less broadcasted games we have, the more they can kind of get away with. Which it's just English refs, let's be honest. And I'm sure even if there's Welsh refs in that league as well, like the same would go. It's just the league, like, and how they punish players. And I mean, even I think it's the Port Vale game. The second one probably was an offside for their goal. But again, it's like they seem so certain on certain decisions. You think, I don't know. But I mean, that's something we can't control, and that's why we've just got to be that much more clinical when we finish, because we will have goals called for offside. We will have it called for fouls and everything. So we just have to make sure that we're giving him as much service as possible. But again, when he gets subbed off, then and you put Callum Robinson in his place, it's a different kind of player. So you can't always do the same thing. You've
got to play to the strengths of who's on the pitch. Before we move on to like the transfers and what we need and stuff like that, and talk about fan frustration, I wanted to talk a little bit about this, right? Martin makes a good point. He said, I'm putting money on Ruben scoring ahead of this season. Never thought I'd say that. Do you know what's really interesting, right? When the opposition has a free kick at the moment, Ruben goes from by the striker all the way back into the number 6 position to be the physical challenge on the big guy. And he did it every time on Wednesday. And it's clear. And then the other thing that we do a lot is when we're playing across the back, which really frustrated me on Wednesday after Swindon scored, you've made a mistake. You've let him back into the game, right? Fine. So what you shouldn't do is just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes while they got their tails up, just go a bit more direct. Take their pressing out of the game, and then they'll tire because they'll be pressing for no reason, and then go back to playing out from the back. But we kept trying to play it out. But what we do is we have a goal kick. We go Chambers or Fish. They go back and forth to the fullbacks, and then Ruben will pull right on almost to the touchline of the left-hand side, and then Trott will go long to Ruben, and Ruben literally was trying to flick it on to Isaac Davis to run onto. Like, it was a clear plan. So they've clearly earmarked Ruben's height. And I think that's so refreshing. Another thing which has been refreshing about Ruben is, and I don't know, like people who go to the games will have seen it, obviously. I don't think you see it on TV as much. The amount of 15 to 25 yard sprints that he goes through in a game, and I am talking all out sprinting to press, is phenomenal. It is a different version of him. Like, he is so, he looks stronger, faster, fitter, and I think he looks dangerous all the time. Port Vale was maybe the outlier where he started to take a few more touches and hold on to it. Whereas Peterborough and on Wednesday, his decision-making on when to carry it, when to pop it off, when to move it. I thought it was exceptional, and he's got to take confidence from the trust that the manager's putting in him, but also the fact that he's banged in 2 top corner free kicks, and he's had 2 long ranges which have been inches away. So I just hope that he can build on it, because I see a real different version of Ruben Colwell at the moment.
You know what? Oh, sorry, frozen for a bit. Are you back? You know what really sort of like it surprised me and impressed me is the fact that in the first game, Brian by Murphy played the Colwell brothers together starting. I did not expect that. And you know, we were talking the conversation of Joel Colwell even going on loan for a bit, and I said I wouldn't loan him out. But then when we think of how many midfielders we had, I think, oh, maybe he probably might go on a short term. He's not going nowhere now, and I think they both play so much better when they're on the pitch together. I don't know what it is. Where's just the whole something of the tough brotherly love sort of thing? I don't know. It's just they're 2 big engines. I think Joel Colwell is probably even fitter than Ruben Colwell in a way, because he first game non-stop, like sprinting round and like, again, he can be a bit reckless. Like he picked up a yellow card, and again, but I did not expect that level of aggression, and I think you wouldn't have seen that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't have seen that, I don't think, if he hadn't gone on those 2 loan spells last season. And albeit it was a bit, tense between the 2 clubs when we recalled him, whatever. But to be fair to him, it was his first time away from home, albeit it was only Cheltenham, but then he went to Exeter, I think. So, like, it's not easy to be away from your family first time as well. And then he's just been chucked into the starting lineup on day 1. I mean, clearly he saw something. I mean, there's competition back in the squad now that wasn't before, but I still think there's some people that at the moment they kind of get in because they're more experienced. That's the way I see it. And,
I agree, mate.
Again, I think it's we because we lack a few signings. I know we'll get on to that. I think that's what it's going to be like so far. Some people still kind of just guaranteed their place, or not guaranteed, but you know what I mean. They're getting in because of X reason, which is usually fair enough. But
let me ask you this: if Dylan Lawler was 22, 23, and if Will Fish was 26, 27, and Eli King was 25, 26, do you think we'd see the same centre backs and number 6 playing? I don't. I really don't.
At the current ability, but
ability-wise, I think Fish and Lawler are more than good enough to play, but I think they're both under 21. And I think Eli King offers physicality and mobility that Wintle doesn't. And I don't think there's a massive difference to them on the ball. But for whatever reason, Eli isn't being picked at the moment. And you've got to trust the manager. He's saying he's basing it on training. And even Joel Colwell, you mentioned, I thought he came on and straight away I was like, he's got to play. Like, he's got to play. Like, he offers so much on the ball and off the ball. He's got to play for me. And then it's like, well, he's got to play. Ruben's got to play. Who's playing the 6? Alex Robertson, I looked like he had his stitches out to me.
Would you rather see... Because I always thought Robertson would do better. See, look, I first think he's a number 8. But then I see him sometimes he was played attacking midfielder, and it's not the worst decision actually. I just
my problem with that though. Sorry, I've just on that is Robertson. I think is better with the pitch in front of him, rather than playing receiving the ball to his feet. So like with his back to goal or like on the half turn on the edge of the box, I think he's got the technical ability to do it. But I think he's better if you give him the ball and he can see in front of him runners, wingers, and he can drive into the space. But you've got to have the right balance, haven't you? And someone else suggested the other day, could Robertson, I'll ask you the question, could Robertson play as the 6 instead of Wintle?
No, see, the thing is, right, because I think you're just swapping out one thing for the same thing there, really. I mean, I think Robertson offers more in technicality. He's a lot more technical, and how he dribbles is a bit better. But I really like the big sort of like Aaron Gunnarsson number 6, like the Darko Gyabi that we're linked with. I feel like we need someone, not necessarily have to be really tall, but someone who's going to bully bully the other team about, because you wanna if anyone gets a yellow card early in the game, right? You don't want it to be a centre backs. You'd rather be like your defensive midfielder, for example, or even maybe a striker, right? But the thing is, like, we don't have anyone to take those big hits before it gets to the back four, and I feel like when I saw Robertson in that preseason friendly, the game he got is, had to have stitches for. There was a lot of like needless little petty fouls, and don't get me wrong, like the foul on him was way worse, but it was silly fouls, and I don't think he's got that right kind of, I don't know what the kind of word is or term is
temperament for it.
Yeah, I think it's the right sort. I think this decision making of knowing when to put a crunching tackle in or not. I think he's just I'd rather see him as a number 8, where I know where I'm comfortable seeing him, where he's probably most comfortable. I just think we really need that bully as a number 6 to come in.
I would like to see Eli King being
Same,
there. If we're not going to play Chambers in the 6, because I think Wintel's struggling for Saturday. So for me, I would like to see Eli or Chambers be moved. I wouldn't be against putting Chambers there and putting Lawler and Fish at centre back. Like, I think that would be great. I just think I tend to agree with you on the physicality side. That Robertson probably hasn't got that physicality, and I think you need someone who's physical and mobile. And I do think Eli King possibly has got that, but until he plays there week in, week out, you can't judge if he's good enough on the ball and he's got the other attributes to do it, because we've only seen him in very sort of small doses, and it's generally been to see out games at the end. So there's a lot of frustration, right, about no transfers coming in, and we haven't signed an outfield player. There's 2 weeks to go till the window closes. Do you understand the frustration with that? Like, Brian Barry Murphy says he wants the right players rather than just players. I understand that, but I also think I just don't believe that he hasn't wanted any players in before the season started, for instance, or at least by this point. I can't believe that he's happy waiting until the very end of the window. So is that because we haven't got any money and he needs to use the loan market? Do we have to sell to get players in, which is why Darlan's going to go out? It's puzzling, mate, isn't it?
I don't believe 1 second that he's happy. Well, I'm sure he's happy with how we've been doing so far, but in terms of transfers and everything, I'm sure if he wanted Darko Gyabi or anyone else in now, he would have got him in as soon as possible. I don't think, if he says he wants quality over quantity, you get the signings in as early as you can, because other clubs will pick up that quality. And I think, look, there are rare occasions where it does happen, or you go into the free agent market, wherever, and fair enough, right? I think at the moment, we just need somebody's in to compete, because look, they don't have to be the best things in sliced bread. I mean, it's League One, so no matter how big of a club you can be, if you're playing in League One, you're going to attract a certain, like, a limit of quality in some ways. I mean, Luton obviously favourite to go up. I think maybe it's between us and Plymouth, or maybe even Stockport next. So it's like, apart from that, it's like, if you wanted quality, you would have already got players in by now. You would have paid the extra amount if you had the funds to get someone in, as opposed to trying to mess about with the other club and try and, rinse out as many pennies as you could. I think we really crying out for a defensive midfielder. I still think we're crying out for a more experienced centre back, whether he's like 25 or 35, But
I got something on that. So the centre back thing. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Grant Hanley, and I know he's gone to Scotland, but when we played Port Vale and we got bullied, and when I saw the size of that centre forward that Swindon had on the Wednesday, I couldn't help but think Grant Hanley would have been perfect for that, alongside a Fish or someone like that. Just someone who's really, really big and physical and can just deal with that side of the game. Now, yes, he's slow and all the things that we talked about, but we need somebody who has got that physicality. I think Fish in 5 years will be that guy. Like, you could see he likes the physical side of it, and he's good at it, but he's still young, isn't he? because you could see like he does well. He does the physical side. He'll put some good diagonals on, real good diagonals, and you're like, right, he's going, and then he'll just play a really poor like 2-yard pass and put us under pressure, or he'll switch off positionally, which is of course part of being a young player and finding your feet and learning. But I don't know. I just think we need like that type of profile of centre back, someone who's just all about the physical side. Most footballers these days are half decent with their feet, so let's get someone who's got the physical elements down, and then deal with the rest. You know, if it means that they've got to just, whenever they get the ball, they've just got to pop it off to Dylan Lawler or to whoever's in 6 or the fullbacks, and he doesn't dwell on the ball too much. Like if he can't play a diagonal, but he can deal with the defensive side of it, I'm willing to make that sacrifice, but I'm not sure if the manager would.
I do miss someone like a Sol Bamba, Sean Morrison, like the big centre back man. Like, and you know, like it really like. Look, I love the modern game in terms of how much more tactical it's got. I know a lot of people hate it, but I do miss just having like the standard thing back in the day. When I say back in the day, I mean like about 5-6 years ago, for me at least. Just have your two slow but tall and physical centre backs. I don't mind having two slow and physical centre backs as long as they are aggressive and play to their strengths, because you didn't need to have ball playing defenders. You had all the rest of the team to do that. I mean, you granted, right, they're professional footballers. Everyone should be able to make a 2-yard, 5-10-yard pass, right? So you know, I don't need to have like a really agile centre back. I think Dylan Lawler maybe is that, and great, but like I just want my centre backs to stop the attackers from getting past them. And if you don't let them get past you, you won't have to sprint after them. But again, it's like that's why you have other cover. Sometimes if you know you're playing a fast team, maybe you want to go 3 at the back. So you mix in, I don't know, maybe a Perry and G who has got a bit more pace, or someone else who has pace. But generally, I really miss that. I know I talk to my granddad a lot because he comes to a lot of games with me, but he just says we're really missing that really big bloke at the back who's hard as nails, like, you know. And I'm not saying it has to be horrible, but we don't have that no more. And it's like, our main reason is always because we're going with a modern game. Yeah, but I looked at like Jesse Deborah, for example. I'm not saying he had the best game for Port Vale, but I looked at his highlights. I can't remember who he played for before when they signed him. But you could look at his highlights. Even he would dribble forward with the ball sometimes. And if you see a massive guy running with the ball, you're centre back, it is going to put you like a bit on edge. So like, I don't know, we just missed that. I think Sol Bamba was a big one because whenever he dribbled up with the ball, you knew something serious was going to happen. Like, but I think in terms of like, we got a really physical striker, but again, it's like until he gets on the ball, we don't see much. So again, I think it's just, we're really missing that. And once we have that, I think even if he only plays whoever that is, you know, every other game, it'll take a lot of weight off the youngsters' shoulders, feeling like they've got like I don't know, like a big brother or something.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It's just one of those, isn't it? Like, I do understand people's skepticism with this board because they contradict themselves. They tie themselves in knots to say certain things, and you find it difficult to believe them. But I don't know. Like, supposedly there's money there if he wants it. I just can't believe that he's come into this job and doesn't want any players. Like, I just don't buy that at all.
Nah.
But I also think that maybe, you know, we haven't got a massive squad now because we got rid of so many players. So maybe there's an element of the club want to sell 1 or 2 to in order to bring some in. He doesn't want to get rid of too many because the squad's already quite small because they've lost a few. I don't know. Or maybe they're just waiting for the Premier League clubs to decide which players are going on loan. It's difficult. I do understand the frustration, but I also think that if you look at the 3 games that we've played so far as a whole, there's way more positives than negatives.
Oh yeah,
way more positives than negatives. To finish us up, mate, what would your 11 be for Rotherham?
Question. I'm trying to think who's still at the club now. Rather, I think I was surprised Trot played in the cup game. If I'm being honest, I would have given that to Turner. But if this is the case, we're going with Trot. I'll go with Trot. I think I don't see many people in the Rotherham team that really scare me as such. I think they'll probably play 5 at the back. So I think I'll just stick with the back 4 and not match them. So I'll go Trot, Capaccio, Fish. God. I'm going to put Chambers in there again, even though I'm going to give him a redemption game purely because I don't know. Yeah, and then I'm going to go with Bagan. I'm going to play Joel Colwell as a number 6.
Oh my
then
gosh.
I'm going to play, Turnbull and Ruben Colwell. I want to see how he does a number 6. Yeah, I'm just curious because he's been such a physical lad. I think he might actually be all right. And then I would stick with the front three of Salic. I'll go Salic, Ashford, and Davis. Give Davis a proper chance this time. Not just 5 minutes off the bench at the end of the game,
Yeah, I thought Isaac did well on Wednesday, considering he haven't really played much. And yeah, so my 11, just off the top of my head, and this is a different 11 to what I put in the preview because I think, like I didn't know Wintle was struggling and stuff like that. I would go. Obviously, Trot's going to be in goal. I think Bagan left back, Capaccio right back. I would go with, knowing that Sam Nome is out, I would go with Fish and Lawler. I'll come back to number 6. left wing, I would have Isaac Davis. Right wing, I'd go Keane Ashford. Although if they are managing Isaac's minutes because of his injury and his fitness and stuff, I would go with Tanner on the left and then bring Isaac on at some point to, like switch it up and that. But Salic up front, Ruben on the left of the 3. My midfield, who would I go with? Joe Colwell, I got to see him in there. And then I'd go the Colwell brothers as the 8s, and I'd go Eli King as the 6, or Chambers.
Fair enough, yeah.
One or two. Either Chambers or Eli King as the 6 to give us a bit of physicality, protect the defence. And I think actually Chambers in front of Fish and Lawler might work because Chambers is good on the ball. And if he does get beaten, he's got 2 players behind him, but he can also sweep up and do a lot of the defensive work that side. Turnbull, I'm not sold on yet. I thought he offered a lot more than I have seen on Wednesday, but not enough that I would drop Joel from the starting 11, basically. Right, got to wrap up there. Evan, as always, absolute pleasure, my friend. Alex Robertson back in the squad, hopefully, as well on the weekend. That would be nice to see. Put some real depth to the squad, some quality players to really give us depth and give us options off the bench, whoever plays. I think that's important. But I see no reason why Yusuf Salic wouldn't go back into the starting lineup. I think at home, I think Joe Colwell should play. And then it's just who they decide to play at the 6. Evan, as always, a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone in the comments. My preview will drop tomorrow lunchtime and announcement 5:00. And then Rob and Aaron will be live tomorrow night. Thank you very much. Keep the faith. See you in a bit.
For your Caesar, Cardiff City, ride with me for your Caesar.